raus, ne? So.
Aber jetzt muss der andere.
Ich bin nicht mehr dabei. Ja.
Ja, okay.
Ok, si
tu veux, tu peux me mettre aussi avec le son et l'image et me dire.
Normalement, c'est bon.
Ok. Mettre les transparents. Mettre les transparents. C'est juste une autre scène. Ouais. Ok. Il faut ton micro. Ok, maintenant il faut nous... Okay, so a very warm welcome from our side to the third Future-IoT. We're really sorry about the IT problems we had this morning, but the sound was not working and everything was breaking. Unluckily, due to Corona, we could not enter the room yesterday to do a final rehearsal, so sorry for that. But now everything should work, all the streams should be working, and we are very happy to welcome you. So it's the third edition, as I just told you, and the two editions we had before were 2018 in Saint-Malo, where we had a great time. 2019, we had it in Munich. This year we planned to have it in Strasbourg, but due to Corona it was not possible. And therefore next year the plan is to have the on-site event in Strasbourg with all the challenges and updated keynotes and so on. So if you're interested, you're of course also very welcome to the event next year. To give you some impressions of the last years, because we cannot meet now. So this is how it looked like in Saint-Malo. So you see the nice church in the background with a very nice booth there. And this is how it looked like in Munich. And if we would have been in Strasbourg, we would have made, of course, a very similar picture. We try to do everything to make it still a very good event for all of you. So who is participating? The problem is a little bit in these distant presentations, how to bond. Therefore, we have different elements that will help you to do that. And for those participating in the Zoom, it's a good idea when you start your camera so that the others can see that there are also faces behind the names. The bandwidth should not be an issue, so you can start it and it should be fine. And so you're highly welcome to do so. It will make it much more fun to be virtually together. So who's participating? So we have almost 300 people registered in the stream, which is great. And I hope that we get some more, because you can, of course, spread the good news. So I put you some statistics from the registrations. We had planned to have nice t-shirts. So we have the t-shirt from last year, for instance. So it's this one. And for this year, we also would have had similar t-shirts, of course, with this year's logo. And as it was still until the last moment not clear if we have to go virtual or if we can stay online, we also built a poll, which t-shirts belong to the poll. We see that the majority chose male shape, so probably more male participants than female participants. The circle in the middle shows you the color choice. I put this one because it shows that we have different tastes, we like different colors. This is very good. And the one on top shows your experience
with the
with the
IoT,
IoT,
and we see that
it's
it's
mixed.
Could you give me the water? Someone? Yeah, thanks. Okay, so we are in cyberspace. That means you have to get active to make it really an active event. And therefore, please talk about the event when you can use the hashtag FIoT for Future-IoT 20. And thank you very much, Nicola. And follow and like our streams in the social media. We have the different channels that I put here. We'll put you also the slides online. For each talk, we'll have a continuous stream. So the one the YouTubers are probably watching right now. Plus, we have different YouTube channels. On multiple ones, we also have streams per event that you can easily share afterwards. Plus, we have streamings on Twitter, and we have streamings on Facebook. So please interact on all platforms. We have the nice chat tool that we can interact with you, and we welcome your interactions in the chat. Because this is what will make the event lively. Okay. So, and from your friends, this is what I wrote here to get a little bit closer, because we only have a small screen here. For the Zoom users, what did we implement to build the groups? Well, we have different elements. Maybe they switch to the smaller camera image. Okay. So please open the camera. I already said that. After each keynote, we'll use the breakouts. So you'll have 5 minutes in the breakout room where you can discuss with random people who were put together from the Zoom conference how you like the talk, which are the questions you want to ask, and afterwards we do the Q&A. We have three poster presentations. Who did not yet send a poster, please do so until tonight so that we can include them. The poster presentations will be a pitch. We'll have 2 minutes in the auditorium, so the thing we are currently in, to pitch your poster. We'll create a slideshow on it. And then afterwards, we have a very nice tooling that you see here on the bottom. And there you can watch the posters visit them and talk to the other people. If you are there, you could take over for a minute and talk about the tools that we use for the poster presentation. Is Erkin in the chat? Okay, seems not to be the case. So if you would, just open your microphone and you can do it. As long as he's not there, I will talk about it. So this is the tool, and
can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Perfect.
Okay, sorry, I was muted. Yeah. Okay, so this is a screencast. You can see that we will use for poster sessions. So after your pitches, which will take 1-2 minutes after you introduce yourself, we will be meeting here. The trick here is we have maximum 25 number of participants that can be here. You can see, for example, Professor Mob is walking right now in the room, and these are different presentations, different posters. You can also see my name is Napoleon. One poster you can see. So what we will do here is just we imitate normal poster session in the conferences. You can walk around the posters, and then you can talk about the owner, what's going on there, what is the trick there, etc. The thing is, the capacity is 25, so after the pitch, please, be quick to get a seat, first come, first serve. I will make sure that the poster owners will be in the room, but for the free slots, whoever can get, can join the room. I hope it will be fun, and then we will use this tomorrow and on Wednesday after poster sessions. That's it from my side, Professor Pai.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So this is nice tool. What I especially like about it is that when you approach people, you only hear them when you're close to them. And it really gives kind of the feeling that we would have in a poster presentation session. Okay. For the free streamers over YouTube, so you can still upgrade on the website if you want to be in the Zoom, of course. Besides that, use the chat actively. also chat with each other over the chat in the YouTubes and the Facebook and the Twitter. We will bring your questions in after the talks. As we will do the 5 minutes break after the talk, you also have 5 minutes to write down your questions, and then we will select some of them and bring them into the chat afterwards. And as I said before, a lively discussion will make the event a big success. Okay, so I think there was some remote clicking. It's just updated the program, but it's still the old one. Okay, so we are scheduled a little bit backwards, so we started one. So I'm really perplexed that it's not the updated one. And also that it's continuing to click through. Okay. Yeah, so we started now at 1, and we'll have Olivia, when is the next presentation? 2:15. Okay. We'll have Niels Thompson at 2:15. Then we'll have the break at 3, and we'll then have Emmanuel at 3:30, and we'll have Paul Emmanuel at 4:30. Okay, so this is the plan for today. Good. Tomorrow, we start at 9. We start with a talk about culture of innovation. So I'm not going into details because we're a little bit behind. Afterwards, we have the first poster presentation. Then we have another talk. Then we have a longer lunch break. Then afterwards, we have two talks. And then we have another break. And let's switch back once again. So tonight, because we cannot physically discuss in Strasbourg, we have a special event. So Nicola and friends will be virtual visitors to Strasbourg, and I'm really looking forward to that. Tomorrow we have an interview with Windsurf, and afterwards Nicola, I, and some friends from here will do a panel, discuss with you about internet architecture, cybersecurity, and so on. And on Wednesday, which is our last day, we start with the poster presentation in the morning, then we have a break, and then we have a keynote, another poster presentation, and in the evening we have a talk with Martin Hellmann about ethical decisions in computer science, which is also a very important topic that is strongly linked to cybersecurity, and afterwards also a panel on that. So the streams features a full program from 9 to 20. Usually in the bottom you see the setup. If you're interested, write it in the comments. Then I can also detail you what is our setup and why it was so painful to get it running. Interaction is the key. And that brings me to the partners. So we have the different partners here that are supporting us, and one important partner is the German French Academy for the Industry of the Future that is collaborating us is joining us from early on, and therefore I want to mention them. So Nicola, you also want to give some welcome words, of course.
Should I switch on?
Yes. It should work.
Yeah. Okay, hello. My name is Nicolas Montaron. I'm the co-organizer with Marc Oliver, and we are very pleased to welcome you on board. We hope you enjoy the week. Yes, we are very disappointed that we cannot meet in Strasbourg. We wanted to make it until the very last moment, but it appears that the situation was very bad and is very bad. So we try to make the best we can to have a great event anyway. So I hope that everything is going to be fine, and that we'll be able to actually talk together, interact together, because I agree with Marc Oliver, it's the most important part. Do you want me to go over the sponsors, or?
I don't think we have to do that, because we will see them with each of the talks. Yeah. So the companies at the bottom are the ones that give the keynotes, and the ones on top of the organizing organizations and funding sponsors and so on.
Yeah, we are very happy to have a lot of industrial partners that supported this school and wanted to participate by giving talks. And we were supposed to organize a project with them working on their hardware. So that was definitely a very interesting part that we have to skip because we don't meet. Well,
And the reason why we skipped it is especially because this is really a hands-on experience. This is about sitting together and doing something together, and it didn't make sense to us to do that remotely. And therefore, if you want to have that, join next year again. Okay, so yeah, I think that was it. A very warm welcome from our side. Leo, maybe show the still for a second in the stream, because then I switch to presentation, and then we directly continue with the first keynote, which is by me, and is about setting the stage for our topic. Okay, good. Okay, did you start the second streams? Okay, perfect. Good. Yeah, you can switch back. Yes. No, you can leave that, but you can switch there back to the image of the OBS. Yes. Here, still open. Yes. Okay, perfect. And then please the slides. Because we have the trailer to start. Okay.
Cybersecurity is an amazing topic to study, and particularly it's an arms race between us and the attackers.
Building systems resilient to cyber attacks is of course a challenge of great practical interest.
A new challenge to face.
Ethics, but also a practical point of view. Both.
Help giving users a more secure experience.
It's like a game because you have two sides, the defender and the attacker.
Why we often take knowledge from other areas, in my case, cloud system and machine learning.
the domain is complex, and it requires the understanding of heterogeneous data sources and use cases.
And the new things alert.
So cybersecurity is very motivating for me because in cybersecurity you may have some prior knowledge on the nominal behavior of the system, but you have to face attacks that are yet unknown.
Okay, so as I said before, my name is Marco Lopal, and I'm not only running the summer school, but I'm also the chairholder of the chair Cyber CNI, where we do cybersecurity research, and there are also some people in the audience today that were also in the video and saw it for the first time, I guess. Okay, so with this talk I want to set the stage, and let's start with critical infrastructures, or with infrastructures that can be attacked. So what are these infrastructures? I put you some examples here. So you see healthcare, water supply, energy supply, communication, data centers, industry 4.0, transport, defense and national security, finance, education, research and innovation, food, and many more. Why did I put exactly these? Because you see cyber-physical systems that are computers connected to each other, doing something together, or even being connected to the outside world, are ubiquitous, they're everywhere, they're in the middle of our society, and they're also especially connected to the internet, and this can lead to problems, because on the internet there are not only good people like you and me, but there are also bad people, i.e. symbolized them here in black, and these bad people that are distributed all over the internet can attack the resources in these systems comfortably from their home. And when they attack these systems here, then they do not only attack the systems, but they attack our society. Because they attack your water supply, they attack your energy supply, and this is of course nothing that you want. And therefore, at the chair, we work on how can we protect against this, and we have different directions we look at. So we look at prevent. So we try to prevent attacks as much as possible. This is so-called security by design. That means we develop mechanisms to protect systems in the best way possible. Now you might say, okay, if you protect the systems in the best way possible, why do you need something else? The answer is, you can never protect the system 100% if the system is a system that is flexibly interacting with its environment, because you have programs that change over time, you bring in new devices, you remove devices, you change configurations, you have humans interacting, so you have dynamics that you cannot get rid of, and you also don't want to get rid of, because this is exactly the functionality that you want to have. And therefore, the second thing that we're doing is detection. So we look at how can we detect attacks or anomalous behavior of such systems. And when we detect such a thing, then we look at, okay, how can we mitigate from these attacks? How can we have automated defense? How can we bring the user into the loop so that the user is getting the information that he needs in order to understand the system better? So this is what you see with the lights here on the right side. For doing this protection, we use multiple mechanisms. I put you some examples here. So we use also machine learning to do fuzzy data analysis. We use so-called digital twins, so digital equivalents of a physical something, to do tests and also to check and understand the systems. We use distributed ledgers to exchange information between untrusted parties, and we also look at ethical algorithms. So how can we design systems, computer programs in a way that they behave ethically? And this is exactly what we will discuss on Wednesday in the last evening session, where Martin Hellman, a Turing Award winner, so this is one half of the Diffie-Hellman tree exchange, he will talk to us with the recording and tell us why it's so important to always take such ethical decisions. Okay. Now you know a little bit the stage. Let's dive a little bit deeper. So this thing we're talking about is also your smartphone. This is also a cyber-physical system, so something that you carry with you. It's safe driving cars, like the one here. So the car is driving, and you see that the car is processing its environment, it's collecting data, it's reacting to the environment. If someone hacks it, it might crash into you if it's a self-driving car, and this is of course something that you don't want to have. And therefore, security is super important in all the environments I was talking about, and especially also in the Industry 4.0 setting. And here's an example for such an industrial robot as you find it in an Industry 4.0 factory. And I chose this example because it shows you why malfunctions could harm you. Because let's see what these guys are currently creating. So I fast forward, so this is the end, and so this robot-controlled chainsaw was building two stools and a table, which is of course nice, but now imagine you work with this machine, you're there where the people are right now, and a hacker attacked the machine and is now moving it towards your head. This is obviously nothing you want. Okay. So let's come to the challenges once again. So this is a workshop as you found it at the beginning of the 20th century. What's important for me here is that you have many people, so these here, lots of them, and you have machines that are doing a job there, and they're isolated, and people are taking the goods and carrying them from one post to another. This is what characterizes the industry also at the beginning of the 21st century. It was more automation, but the key aspect here is you have isolated systems that are interacting with the humans, and you do not have full automation. We switch now to a modern workshop, which is this one. You see that there's at the moment an industrial robot coming. There is way less people, as you see here in the back. And what is important here, that everything is networked. So you have distributed sensors and actuators, and they're all connected, and also connected to computer programs and doing something there. And this is a big paradigm shift. So let's have a look at why. So this is now a modern factory, so you see at the bottom that you have machines that interact with you and interact with the humans, and on top of that you have the controllers here, and on the right side you have the network. Okay, so that means inside the factory everything is connected. Good. But it doesn't stay inside the factory. Typically the factory is also connected to the so-called cloud, where you have servers, and the more recent paradigm is the edge, where you have also servers that are used for broader areas but are closer to you, which is from a security perspective good, from a latency perspective as well. So what is the problem now? You don't only have one factory, you have multiple factories that are connected over this internet, which is good because we exactly want to have the services that are offered through this connection. But the problem is, when you look at the attack surface, at the beginning, when everything was isolated, you had so-called insider attacks. So people inside the factory could do attacks. Of course, you don't want that. But if you have a good company culture, or if there are not many of them, you can limit this. You can also do physical access control and some other things. When we go to the edge fog, the setting is changing, so there are already more people because it's more attractive and it's also closer to the internet to do attacks there. And when we then finally go to the internet, then we see, okay, there are lots of attackers simply for the rules of statistics. There are just more humans, and they are capable of attacking, as I said at the beginning. So what are the security problems now? I put you three examples. So the first one I simply call security.
And what is this about?
Well, this is about you have your factory,
and then
someone is attacking the factory, and then
your production
is not working, your factory is stopping,
you're
losing money. Of course,
this
this is nothing you want.
The
The second,
to me
more important, safety.
So you have
human workers, and these human workers are interacting
with the robots.
And
And
as we've seen with the
arm
control
control
chainsaw before, this bears of course risk. Therefore, you have to take care of that. And the last point I put here is privacy, because we've seen before cameras.
So this is
again something that these IoT systems by design have to interact with the environment, because you want to have context-sensitive services, you want to have services that react to what is happening around them, and therefore they have to collect data. Of course, you do not want everybody to know when you go to work what exactly you do, see your image when they want to remotely access you, and so on. Therefore, privacy super important as well. Okay, so now we have a little bit abstract attacks. I bring you now 4 example attacks, and then Lars will detail to you the first one I come to, you definitely heard of. So it's the Stuxnet attack. And I will not go into detail to these attacks now, but as said, you have the slides afterwards. On the right side, you see some of the interesting questions. And you also have some supporting links. So this is something to look at, an important and interesting cyber attack. The second one I want to mention is the flame attack. Here you can also have a look. The third one is the so-called HAVEX attack. Also an overview on that. And the fourth one I want to mention, to give you the hints to look at it when you're interested at home, is the black energy attack that is given here. And that said, I hand over to Lars, who will take you through the more details of the Stuxnet attack. Lars.
Thank you very much. I hope that. So I guess, yes, most of you will have heard of Stuxnet before. It is a malware, or the first malware discovered. I'm not sure. I cannot forward.
You cannot.
You have to click again on the image.
If not, I can press. I can just tell you.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, so it's a very rather sophisticated malware, and the first digital cyber weapon that was actually used to attack some physical infrastructure. In this case, this was the Iranian nuclear program, and it was then uncovered in 2010 when it broke wild because the creators made some mistakes in the spreading mechanism they used, and then it went almost everywhere, or infected many systems. I'm not sure if you used the computer back in the day, then your antivirus software might have found it after it was uncovered. It was initially built so it spread over the network, but it ultimately compromised the programming logic controllers in the enrichment side and manipulated the behavior to break different centrifuges. How that was done, we will get to later. Yes, but well, it was highly tailored at specifically this enrichment plant in Iran. And as you can see in the picture here, you can see that there's almost no doubt that Iran was the target of this attack. After it was uncovered, it was extremely well studied. I guess nowadays you cannot read any paper on security of cyber physical systems without stumbling upon Stuxnet. There's an extensive technical report by Symantec. I goes very much into the details of what or how the malware worked. And then there's also a book by Kim Setter who did the geopolitical assessment of Stuxnet, who might have been the actors or who probably was the actor and working on that, and then created the malware. So on the next slide, we will see the path that was taken to breaking lots of the centrifuges that are used to enrich the uranium for nuclear to develop nuclear weapons. There are the layers that we all know, the IT layer, on which we have the network itself, operating systems and different applications running on the computers. And well, the first goal, of course, is to infect these computers, which then can distribute further. Basically, the goal is to get onto the PLCs and manipulate the routine such that the centrifuges will break. A very, very important aspect of Stuxnet was that it was deeply undercover. So the main emphasis on the development or on the functionality was that it remained undetected. And well, once we are on the target machine, we can concentrate on getting ahead onto the ICS layer, or where the industrial controllers are, or the sub-controllers controlling different valves. And there we want to manipulate the control such that other commands are sent or executed and intended to damage that on the physical layer where the devices themselves are. And yes, ultimately our goal was to break it. So first step on the next slide is the infection of the machine. So Stuxnet targeted specific 32-bit Windows versions. There's a control flow where it just went into the machine and checked the operating type, the architecture. Well, in case it did not have any administrator privileges, it did some privilege escalation, and then continue, and then this was one of the first very interesting is that it checked for the running processes, amongst which the running antivirus software, and it would hide differently and behave differently depending on the software that was installed on the computer to remain undetected. After that, it ran the DLL, so it was all delivered in a DLL. And after it started to check for internet connectivity, and there was internet, well, it connected to a specific command control server with some specific domains to send information about the system it is on, and receive also commands from remote. The interesting thing there, it had also some peer-to-peer capabilities, so it also checked the network for other computers, first to infect it, but also to update itself in case it did not have the newest version. And yes, so the goal after establishing itself on the machine as well, just infect other computers, which is on the next slide then. So we have we want to propagate through the network. Well, first of all, as I mentioned, we have some peer-to-peer communication where we can update others or get ourselves updated, infecting special computers with control software, so with CC machines there. They often had a hard-coded password in it, which was publicly known. And it infected network shares, so everything there. There were 2 0 days that were used. So first through a print spooler, which was, well, it was a 0 day, which was not patched, but it was publicly known before. And then a unknown service, so in the Windows Server service. And later, the latest, so most of the time, in order to infect air-gapped systems, it will also install itself on hide or USB sticks and get there and then propagate through USB sticks. There, it was very interesting that this phase had a timer on it, so it only ran through for a couple of weeks before uninstalling itself if it was unsuccessful or receiving a special command. And also on the USB drives, it only had a counter in it, counter to 3, so it would only install 3 times, or in fact 3 machines. What is very interesting about that as well, so the propagation methods changed throughout the different versions of Stuxnet. So in the beginning, it was limited to the removable drives and peer-to-peer functionality in the Windows Server and principle, and the network shares were not affected in the first versions, and only were added later on in later versions, which it then has gotten out of hand. So now the next step is when we have infected ourselves and we are on the computer, and so we want to get onto the next layer, so the ICS layer. And that's on the next slide, where we have the manipulation of the industrial controls themselves. So Stuxnet targeted a specific version of the Siemens industrial software for industrial controllers called Step 7. And therefore, it skimmed through the file system and looked for to install programs and looked for specific installations of Step 7 and infected very certain or specific project files. So as before, this is a highly tailored malware that was only targeting these enrichment plans. So it installed itself there and manipulated different project files to modify the logic on the PLC itself in case they are connected. It went even that far that it reprogrammed or overwritten basic functionality for PLCs that are usually default on board, and even despite still hiding itself. So Stuxnet was also the first version of a rootkit for Mojo PLCs. And so then once we are on this, once we are on the PLC, of course we also want to do our thing now, and Stuxnet had a very specific way of working. So if we continue on the next slide, we have a state machine of the attack, and initially we are, well, in state 0, where we wait for a few hours, and then are installed or start executing. And after a few, if we're in that state, Stuxnet still remains silent. It just listened in the network and on the PLC looking for actions, what was going on, and collected this data for use for later on. After it collected enough data, I mean this could be any amount of time between 30 days or 3 months, depending how active or how much activity was on there. And then we went to the next day, we waited for 2 hours, and it did nothing, waiting for nothing. So collecting or reassembling that to mimic the behavior of the PLC for later on, during the time frame in which it actually manipulated the valves and centrifuges. And in the next stage, so we're now in the third state, the rotation speed of the centrifuges was accelerated. The valves were closed a little to increase the pressure within that keep the gas in the centrifuges in a certain state to make this gas also unusable. And then after 50 minutes, just go back to normal. This time, the commands were sent to the centrifuges from the PLC, and the output was from the centrifuges was also monitored. However, the output was also overwritten such that it appeared for the operators of the plant that nothing would happen and the operation was quite normal. Also, the changes were very, very tiny, so they were looking for specific frequencies for the centrifuge to operate on, which were damaging. And after a while, so since there were lots of tests by the IAEA, so the Atomic Agency supervising the nuclear program in Iran, the auditors began noticing that lots of centrifuges were breaking. And first of all, this was a very tiny amount of centrifuges breaking, but these checks were done every 3 months. And more centrifuges kept breaking at a very unusual rate. So there, first of all, it was said that there are some malfunctions and they tried to cover it up. But after a while, it became clear that there's something wrong and they were trying to find the root cause. And at the beginning, it appeared that there was no root cause that could be found, but it continued to break. And after a while, Symantec went public to announce that they have found Stuxnet, because apparently the versions had changed again and it spread wildly to lots of machines that were not intended to have it. And that's when the Iranian government found out that Stuxnet was actually targeting their nuclear program. Well, after this, we're on the 4th state, where everything went back to normal, and then Stuxnet went back to being quiet and waiting for another, and going to state 0 again. Yes, if you want to read more about that, I've put some references inside there. So these are some extensive reports. If you're very interested in that, there's a lot to learn from that. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you can already note down the questions that you have for us. Is working? The audio is it working? Can you hear me, Lars?
On the stream, you can see.
Is it working again? Okay,
perfect.
Yes.
I think it was going to be a problem with the microphone.
Yeah, thank you
very much, Lars. And you can already note down the questions for him, because I'm sure there are more questions, and I can highly invite you to study such attacks, because you learn a lot about the systems that are getting attacked. Okay. So, this brings us to the defense side. So what can we do against such attacks? So as I said at the beginning already, we can do security by design, securing the systems as much as possible, starting from the users, going down to the physical protection. Then on top of that, we can do automated monitoring and defense, looking at if something strange is happening in the machine, and it can help us, for instance. And then on top of that, we have to have the human in the loop, because security is nothing clear in the sense, okay, this is exactly how security has to be done, but it's something that grows with the policies that the users want to have in the systems that they want to secure. The chair, we of course cover all these topics. I told you already, prevent is important, and you see information on top attackers that they are getting less through the activities that we do. So prevention protects against lots of attackers already. Detection helps us to understand the systems. And then the automated defenses. This is something that is helping to minimize the attack risk. So now I brought you once again some of the members of my chair telling you what they are at the moment working on.
Industrial systems.
Communication of resilient systems.
Security risk optimization for learning on heterogeneous quality data,
management of access control in IoT infrastructure,
safety and security,
threat analysis,
diagnose incidents,
enhance situational awareness of cyber analysts,
random distortion testing, RDT in short,
traceability and integrity of information,
platforms for research purposes,
values from sensors, actuators, and automata,
detection of anomalies,
NFV, which is network function virtualization,
critical systems,
risk analysis methods based on extension of topic graphs,
anomaly detection in physical data from the secure router treatment, testbed, SWAT,
network intrusion detection system,
access control policies on IoT,
machine learning to design ideas.
Okay, so you see there's a broad range of activities, and on this slide here I brought you some of the topics we're currently working on. I will not go into detail, but as you see, it goes from the prevention side to the user interface side, where we have some 3D interfaces, and to come to the end of the presentation, I brought you some videos from the infrastructure that we are running at the chair, because we have quite nice test beds for doing our security research, and I will just start the videos. So here on top you see some Fisher-Technic factory emulators. These are tiny factories that are controlled by the real PLCs, by the so-called programmable logic controllers, the things that were attacked in last scenario. And here we have a factory. We can look at what happens when there are some attacks, how can things be changed, what are the effects of changing something physically, and so on. And as we have the real PLCs, we can really look at the attacks, and do not only have something that is simulated, but we have the physical interfaces that you also have in a real factory, with the robots we have seen before. Then the second point, this is another version of it. We also look at electrical signals, as you see here. This here is a very similar approach, but here the effects are purely simulated. So here you see a clean factory. Again, the control comes through these industrial controllers. Of course, we also do simulation and measurements. For that one, we have servers. Then we have real heating devices here, where we can do changes, and this is a heating circle. So there's a motor, next to it is a heating circle, so here we have a motor where we can do changes. This is a real heating circuit where we can change configurations. So you see the water tanks, and you see the actual heater, so the camera goes there now here. This one here is a test bench for these industrial controllers. Here you see the virtual reality interface we're working on, and here in REM we also have a fab lab where you can do 3D printing and similar things, so that's quite cool. And just a little bit the REM campus here. Okay, so now you get an idea what we're doing. We have now and Future, where you also see an animation where we currently are, because we are physically in REM. You see the map where this is, and then afterwards we will put you into the breakouts for 5 minutes, and I will tell you again in a second. You can already start thinking about your questions, or if not, you can enjoy the ending video of this presentation.
Okay. So yeah, thank you very much for the attention in the keynote. So now we will put you into the breakout rooms. I don't know, Lars, if you have the control for the breakout rooms. Okay, you don't. I will do that. And so the idea is now you get into the breakout room with as many participants we have divided. I think I will put about 3-4 people per breakout room and discuss a bit what are your questions about the talk and think about what you want to ask afterwards. And those of you following on YouTube, just write your questions because we'll also come back to your questions there. Let me just go to the Zoom meeting. So that I can put you into breakout. So just have to click this. Stop sharing. Exactly. So we have how many people in the stream at the moment? Just okay, 35. That means we can put it into so this is showing me. Okay, it's like automatically and so you will have 5 minutes, and afterwards you will see a timer, and then you will automatically come back. And then we come to the questions. You can just unmute your. Then we'll moderate the questions. And the mode is if you have a question, raise your hand, which you can do in Zoom when you're at the bottom, and then we'll call you. Okay. Or let's do it otherwise. Write the question into the chat, and then we'll call you, and then you can ask your question. Okay. So I hope everything is clear. Then I will put you into the rooms and take you back in 5 minutes. Okay. Good. Which questions do we have? So I'm super happy that it's working now, because it was so horrible that it was not working this morning. Do we show anyone during the Q&A session? I would say no. We just show us and or me, and because we don't have the okay by the participants to show them, right?
What's again?
In the Q&A session.
You will show the Q&A session on the stream?
Yeah, I would show it on the stream, but I would only show us. So the people can raise their voice, but they will not receive it.
Yeah. And there are 1 or 2 questions also in the chat.
Yeah. Who moderates the session?
Which one?
Yeah, this one now. The question Q&A. Could you moderate it? Yeah. So for the chat, you can just call someone who wants to ask the questions to them, maybe Lars or Christian. If Christian is in, you can just call them to ask the question if there's a question from the chat. And then for the next talks, we'll assign people that are checking the chat for the presentation.
So I'm talking about the chat from YouTube or the chat from Zoom?
It's all mixed.
There are only 3 people in the breakout room.
There what? There what?
There are only 3 people in the breakout room.
In which breakout room?
In some breakout
Yeah, in each breakout room there are only 3 people.
Ah, okay.
So I put like 10 breakout rooms.
Oh my god. So I'm with
So you can discuss with them if you want.
Ja, aber nein, no, okay. Kannst du mir noch mal ein neues Dings schießen, weil das war das abgeschnitten, genau, diese ganze Kabelkram, das hätte ich mir gar nicht gefunden.
Ja, ich versuche Leute.
Ach so, okay.
Est-ce que c'est ok pour vous quand je prends un panorama en photo? C'est ok? Pour toi pas? Ok, il faut se cacher.
Ja, Ja, ich glaube, das oben kriegst du eh nicht mit drauf, aber den Computer kriegst du vielleicht noch gerade mit.
Oui, mais c'est mieux comme ça, parce que j'avais juste fait le photo comme ça. Someone will not see you, but smile anyways. Good. Great.
T'as fait ton signe de vous.
Marc, ist es okay, wenn ich das auf die sozialen Medien-Tools bin? Weil ich meine, erkenne die Leute eigentlich nicht.
Ja, ich habe gefragt.
Das ist okay.
So I didn't get what you want me to do with
Someone has to call out the people who ask a question. So you have to check who raised the hand.
Okay.
And then call them.
On the Zoom.
We have about 5 minutes for the question.
And when I talk, I should switch this on, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And afterwards, Niels Thompson will be the presenter, so you can lock him in. Mais au commencement, tu peux montrer juste la caméra qui est là, qui s'appelle End Auditorium ou chose comme ça, parce que moi je vais lui introduire.
Alors du coup... Who is going to be talking?
Okay, so
I just closed the breakout rooms, so it takes 24 more seconds. We already saw the questions in the social media, and Nicolas will be our moderator for the Q&A session. And Arsene, I will be very happy to answer you. Okay, everybody is back. Wonderful.
So the mode is now, if you have a question, raise your hand in the chat, and then Nicola will call you. The chats from the YouTube, Twitter, and so on, who feels responsible of telling them this person is Christian there? Is Ekin there?
I can do it.
So just raise your hand. Just raise your hand in the chat for the questions. Nicolas knows. Okay. We can start. Nicolas.
No, pushing.
So, while we're waiting, I do have a question that I would like to forward to you because I have received that earlier on. So, on the slides you said that there are lots of security and safety things that have to be considered. And then you also mentioned these along with security by design. How do you think of all the things in the first place, and how do you incorporate that into the design?
Thank you very much for this very good question. So
how do you incorporate it into the design? So this is an interesting question in that sense that the design is a huge process. So it's not just one step, but you have to introduce it from the beginning, where you think about what you want to do with your product, which is, for instance, when you think about privacy, which is the information that you will collect, why do you want to collect it, which is the principle of least data sharing, least data storing, least data processing. Then, of course, when it comes to the algorithms and the software that you're running, then the super important thing is applying security standards in the right way. So in the right way is the challenging thing here, because you have complex systems with different components that interact, and you have to create then the links in between the system parts, that they are secured and so on. So this, and it does not end there. So it's also running the program later. So it's throughout the entire life cycle, and it's through a bunch of different questions that are important to take into consideration. Okay, so I don't know, do we have something else from the chat? Because if not, I'm also unhappy, because then we can switch to Niels.
Actually, I have two questions here that were written, so I can read them for you if you want. So the first one is, what are the major reasons for IoT security breaches? Which layer is the most vulnerable?
So I would say the major reasons why IoT is so vulnerable is the distributedness of the systems, which introduces complexity. So you have to take into consideration whether part of your system is broken, the entire system is broken. And the second major point I would mention is heterogeneity, because you have lots of heterogeneous devices that you bring in, and the weakest part of the chain is defining the security that you have. So this will be my quick answer to that.
I have another one. It's about the Iranian facility. So the question is, did the Iranian facility have some security measures in place which the authors of the malware had to overcome, or they relied mostly on the internet air gap?
So I hand over to my Stuxnet expert, Lars.
So there's a combination of both. Of course, they had the air gap things, and the creators of Stuxnet got very lucky, because in order to create such a tailored malware, you have to have a lot of knowledge of the system, and they got lucky and intercepted some of the devices, and they kind of built a replica of the plant by themselves, for themselves, and then developed the malware. And yes, they had to overcome also security. As mentioned, they actively hid their files or their activity from the antivirus software. There was also AZ software which Stuxnet was not compatible with, so in case it was found or found this thing, then it would uninstall itself immediately again. I hope this answers the question.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much. Yeah. And so this probably concludes. There's one more question.
Yes, one more. What is a resilient system, and how is it different from any other information system, and the need to make all IS resilient? Is it IoT specific term?
Yeah, and so my answer to that is, of course, it's not an IoT specific term. So resilience basically means that you build a system that even under attacks and unforeseen situations, the system is still delivering its service. And this is what resilience is. And again, for the IoT, it's an even bigger challenge than for other systems, because of the heterogeneity and distributedness that has resource limitations and so on. Okay, perfect. Then thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nicola. Then we go to the next stream. Leo, this one you can keep running, but you can go to you can also leave me. It's fine. But you have to just stop and start the OBS and switch the input source to the one that is not selected, so probably one right now. And this should then change it in the OBS. Yes. Okay. And now you should see the business values show.
Okay,
then you can show me again. The one. Perfect. Okay. Good. Then it's my greatest honor and pleasure to welcome today Niels Thomsen of Atos. And Niels is the Group Vice President, Global Head of the Inside IoT and AI practice and Head of Global Business Development for Managed IoT at Atos. He has more than 25 years of cross-industry experience in large international companies. Niels joined Atos in 2012. He's married and he lives with his family in Munich. Niels, not sorry for the delay. It was really not possible because it was not working, but we're all looking forward to your talk, and I hand over directly to you. So you can unmute here, and I hope you have control. Perfect. Thank you very much.
My control does not work, but I hope Lars will help me. So thank you for inviting, and no worries, I'm happy to be here and to give a presentation. I hope I come over clearly.
Yeah, we can hear you. It's working perfect.
Yes.
Okay, great. So if I may ask you, Lars, to ensure that you can share the presentation.
Let me just 1 second start the do this to Zoom team share it as well.
So it's shared now on the screen on the screen.
Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, welcome you all, and thank you for inviting me to be here with you and to go a little bit through you within IoT and AI and how we at Atos try here to drive business value out of those subjects. First of all, I want to tell you a little bit about who Atos is. If you move one slide forward, then we will go through the business value. We will look into how we drive it and how we see this moving on in the future. Let's go for slide 3. Atos today is 110,000 people. We merged together over a lot of companies over the last couple of years, and we are today one of the top 5 digital service companies of the world. We have a clear vision and mission on really reducing CO2, so increasing decarbonization, and we have officially committed ourselves to follow the goal of the Paris meeting on decarbonization. So we want to not get to neutral, but really get to zero in 2035, and we want to also move our clients there. We also one of the leading companies within.
Can I see the slides or can they see no slides?
We spend well above
now we have to
200
check
million
where
every
we
year
can
in
do it.
R&D. So, just to tell you why we are talking about IoT and AI today. The market analysts are clearly seeing Atos with our Codex brand to be one of the leading companies within IoT analytics as a combined solution. They have seen us in that upper right-hand corner of the Magic Quadrant for 3 years in a row now, and being one of the few companies that actually can deliver this as a service, not only as a project, but actually scale and deliver this as a service, which is one of the core KPIs to be able to deliver value out of the solutions. If you move to slide number 5. So, as I told you, Atos wants to really focus on decarbonization, and we have announced our commitment to net zero by 2035. And IT AI is going to be one of the key parameters to actually deliver this. We already reached carbon neutral in 2018. So this is a really next big step for us. And as I said, the combination of IoT, analytics, AI is going to help us to reach this goal. Now, let's go into a little bit more of the topic today if we go to slide 6. With slide 6, we now enter into the part of the section around value through analytics and IoT. And this is where we believe we, in the future, over the coming 3 to 5 years, really will find the next, let's call it golden nuggets for the companies and for the society that we are in, living in, or working with. And I want to take you through how we see this area and a couple of success stories that we have been looking at and been doing to show you this is something that is actually live today. And if you want, please feel free to raise questions as we go along, and we can have them at the end. Going to slide 7. We see when we need to deliver IoT as a service, the service levels differ from what we normally would see in IT. We need to look at accurate business alerts. We need to look at speed of data. We need to look at quality and usability of the data, especially here about how the end users are getting access to the value that are driven out of the data. So what is the insight, and how do we give the end users access to that insight? Timely alert for predictive maintenance of devices. So this is also a KPI that we're going to work with, because this is really important to show that we are enabling and improving a business process. So normally, when we looked at IT, we looked at the number of incidents and uptime, etc. And it was very nice for a server or an SAP platform. But moving into the actual core business of our client, we need to have KPIs which are much more closer to the day-to-day life that they're working on. Give you an example: if you go into a production line and tell them that you give them 99.9 availability, they're going to laugh because they're working with 100%. They will say, you know, we need to run at all times. So 99.9 is not going to cut it for us. And that is a different thinking we need to apply here when we move into the area of IoT and adding analytics to it to ensure and to show that we actually can deliver the value at the other end. If you move to slide number 8. When we improve visibility, and we do that by using those new service levels here, as you will see on slide 8, we also will give our clients more control, more real-time insights on timing, planning, condition, and quality. So we will help to increase the production time by reducing disruptive last-minute changes. We are going to ensure that we have better control and better planning to be more efficient around our warehousing. Coming back to decarbonization, we definitely want to reduce the carbon footprint by adding our solutions here to our clients and reducing, for example, energy consumption. I will come back to one specific example here a little bit later that shows you exactly how we do it. Now, telling you about what we want and how we want it, and also the benefits on a high level that our clients will get. So how are we now actually going to deliver this? What is the core idea and vision around us bringing that value to the client? And what do we believe the clients need to focus on to actually gain that delivery? So first of all, IoT, AI, analytics has been, over the last couple of years, really been exemplified by a lot of pilots and POCs that have shown that there's a value there, that there's a business case, but a lot of companies have not been able to materialize that business case. So why is the reason? One of the reasons is they have not been able to scale. The whole business case around IoT, analytics, and AI will come through scale. It will not come to a pilot, it will not come to a POC. It needs to scale across the shop floor of our clients or across the cities in the public sector when we do smart city solutions. That is where the business case comes for the clients, but also for society. For enabling that, we need to put together a full end-to-end service chain that can enable that scalability and that scale. This includes everything from the consulting part over the analytics and the app development, which is basically the visualization of the result, and then adding the managed service to it. We also need to ensure that this can be integrated and the connectivity is there. This includes also what we see as the some of the latest development coming there, where edge and managed edge computing are really rising and now becoming a more and more vital part of a full IoT solution. We need to ensure that we can optimize this service chain at all times, and of course, coming back on some of the pointers raised before my presentation here, that this is secure. This is a secure solution across the shop floor of the client, because it's really in the heart of their production. So this is a really vital point that we need to ensure. But we also need to ensure that we are working in an open ecosystem, because we're not able to realize the benefits of the client if we're not working together. We're here working together with startups, with scale-ups, with niche companies who has material knowledge on specific points that we then can add into the IoT solution. We're also working together with some of our other partners, like Siemens, AWS, who brings a lot of scalability to it, or Siemens, who brings a lot of domain knowledge into our solution when we work together. So let's take it one step deeper and try to figure out how we see this moving and how we approach this from an ATOS perspective. A couple of years back, we started a program called Pre-Integrated IoT. The idea of that program was to ensure that we look at it from an holistic point of view. So that we look at it from an end customer point of view, so the users that are actually going to use this in daily life. If they don't adopt it and they are not using it, you can build the best solution of the world, it will not help you. We need to enable the open ecosystems, as I just talked about. We need to be able to connect and drive data from a lot of other IoT platforms, because we see that a lot of clients and customers have different IoT platforms based on the size of the actual production side, or of the size of the daughter companies, etc. And of course, we have the current IT systems and the legacy systems, which of course have a lot of data, and we need to capture those as well. And on top, we need to add the analytics and the intelligence. So what we did together with clients, and this is some of the clients that are going to tell you about later, we sit down and say, we want to develop an approach that's both scalable, but also vertical. And we want to do and move forward by doing co-creation and co-development with our clients. We do not anymore believe in that we can sit in a lab and find the best solution in the world, and then the world will embrace it when we bring it to them. No, we need to do it jointly. So we need to do it jointly in an ecosystem consisting of partners, but also of the client and the end users. So when we develop now a use case in IoT, we work with the client on site, in their production site, with our partners, and trying to develop the solution. So how do we do it? If you look at slide 10, where we are now, if you move forward to slide 10. One more, please. One more ahead, please. Thank you. You will see that we have a structure from the shared function layer and downwards to the core infrastructure layer, which you can combine with a green Lego plate. So this is where you plug everything onto. We have to establish that with an IoT engine, and here we use typically some of the larger players in the markets, like Siemens MindSphere or AWS, as our core IoT engine. We then wrap it with some bidirectional communication platforms that we have developed, and we also add some microservices to it as kind of the glue that puts everything together, and surrounded, of course, with a strong cybersecurity. Now, on top of that, with Lego Plate, we can now add our use cases. And every company, regardless of size or competitor to Atos, can now add their use case to this green Lego Plate. They add the use case, and the use case seamlessly moves through this stack here and connects to the IoT engine and a bidirectional communication platform, and can go out and get data from the devices, from other IoT platforms, from other IT systems, and even from external systems. So this is giving you the possibility to scale, because you can build, regardless of the size of the company, you can build a very specific use case, you add it here, and you immediately get access to the data that you need. And once you're through the pilot, you can go live, meaning you can simply roll out the app, because we are already connected, and we thereby scale across the shop floor of the client. Now, we can build this as a project, but the client can also get it actually as a managed service. So that means that we now can work with the full ecosystem, who can add their specific use cases to this pre-integrated reference architecture, which then will enable every use case to scale and every use case to be delivered as a service and our project, depending on what is the client needs. So this brings us to the right-hand side of the slide, where we now envision moving forward that we will, with that reference architecture, be able to create one centerpiece for the client, where the client can focus. This centerpiece will seamlessly connect out to any kind of surrounding systems, devices, data sources that the client will have. And thereby, we, the client, the ecosystem of the client, have one piece to focus on. One piece where he needs to add his use cases. Now, this is now coming to actually starting the journey about driving value. Because the first thing that will happen is that the time to market from idea to actually full rollout will be reduced with 45%. And we know that from current projects, for example, in Finland, where the client was having 9 months from idea to ready to roll out of 9 months. That was his time to market. Now we have reduced that to 4 months. It means that they will be able to get the return of investment faster, and they will have the benefit faster into the different production plants. So this is actually live. This is actually what we're doing today. Let's look into some more of those live use cases. If you move ahead. One slide ahead, please. So, the classic one here is the predictive maintenance and machinery inspection. And we have now been able to move that to a level where we can automate it fully by adding it into this pre-integrated IoT architecture and adding AI, so full-scale AI, into this solution. So we will drive predictive maintenance of windmill, gears, and power generators. This is already happening today. We will document the process by using AI and robotics. And we will be able to do demand planning, forecasting, and supplier claims assessment. All of that in one solution, following this reference architecture that we just showed you. So this is bringing the classical, let's say, IoT use case to a different and a new level. Let's move forward. Let's move one slide ahead. So, is there also other solutions in this one? Yes, we're starting to go out and create more and more use cases. Currently, Atos has more than 120 use cases already off the shelf, which are following this reference architecture and combining the value of IoT and AI. We're doing this across a lot of fields, and today not only looking at predictive maintenance, which was a classic one. We're looking at the city of Vienna, giving a possibility here to provide a control system. Our most famous case is probably Coca-Cola, where we are driving and connecting a use case of getting 17 million coolers online across the world, so that they know where they are, they know the condition of the cooler, they know what's in it, but they know also can start to use that data to see if the sales is actually good. And how many times are the door of the cooler actually open and closed? Is the cooler placed in the right way? And they can now start to also combine that with the different marketing and sales campaigns. So hereby we're taking very classic low value data, collecting it, adding more value to it, adding AI analytics to those data, and are able to create much larger value at the client side, driving totally new business cases. Let's go to the next slide and come back to a couple of solutions that I mentioned in the beginning, which are really our flagship solutions for driving decarbonization, but also to using this pre-integrated reference architecture to the full extent. The first one I want to point out is about saving enormous fuel amounts for shipping industry. We're here working with a leading company within container transportation. We have developed a solution which makes the ship fully connected as one kind of really big edge solution, collecting data from engine, from weather, from a lot of other things that are impacting the fuel consumption. And we are actually adding real AI to it at the edge with high performance computers on the vessel. Now, every time the vessel gets close to shore, it starts to offload the data into a cloud. The analytics models in the cloud will be updated, also with data from all other vessels, and they have more than 200 vessels. So the models will be better and trained, and the new models are pushed to the vessel again, so it can operate fully offline from the cloud with the learnings from other vessels. Now, fuel consumption here for this kind of industry is 50% of the cost, and we're talking fuel bills in the area of 3 to 4 billion euros a year for such companies. And we are on the edge here of driving that fuel consumption down with around 7 to 10% per year. So this is on one side a lot of money, but on the other side, driving fuel consumption down as well as oil usage in general, also driving decarbonization down, or up actually. So by reducing the usage of fuel with 7 to 10%, we will have a huge impact on the decarbonization and the race of the decarbonization of that company. Now you can multiply that across the whole shipping industry, both for container vessels, but also the cruise liners and navies. So here we will be able to actually create an impact on the overall decarbonization goals from the Paris resolution. We're also working with one of the largest producer of vaccine. And here we created a full real-life digital twin of a chemical process, one of the core chemical process when you produce vaccines. So today, for the solution here, they needed to wait 4 to 6 weeks to see if the chemical reaction actually happened in the way that it should. Now we have been able to create a full real-life digital twin working alongside the actual process. So we can immediately see if the process runs as it should, and if the chemical mix as it should. And if not, we can start to reduce our impact temperature, or pressure, or speed of the fluids or whatever, impacts the chemical process. By that, we will reduce time to market immense. It means also less energy. So we can increase the production, but still using the same facility, the same time. So thereby, as I said, we're reducing energy, but we're also reducing the usage of really expensive components. So thereby, we will hopefully also drive the cost down of the vaccine. So more vaccines and cheaper and faster to market. And also now we're looking into to use this solution for driving the R&D. So you can imagine you have a idea of what could be the vaccine for COVID. You knew how that would look in theory, and now you can start to see by using this digital twin here, if you actually can replicate it and build it by looking at the chemical process from different points of view very fast, and you will then in theory have a digital vaccine, and then you can start to see if you now can replicate it into real life. We also increasing the paper mill operational efficiency. So those paper mills, those production lines are 300 to 400 meters long and almost 3 stories high. So here is also a lot of energy consumption that are used by that production. So the more efficient we can be here, less water, less energy will need to be used, and by able to increasing the overall equipment efficiency with more than 1% per production line, you will look at a company which have more than 90 production line, you will immediately see that this will be a huge impact, of course to the business, but also to the energy and water consumption. Again, taking care of the environmental impact and increasing decarbonization. Let's move forward. Next slide, please. So this is the case of the global process industry. This is the challenges that we see, and where we work with this one paper company that I talked about how to increase the efficiency of this industry. So we're talking really about big machinery here, as I said, but also a production which is extremely fast. The paper runs with more than 150 kilometers an hour, so you don't have much time to react. So how do we solve that challenge? Let's take a deep dive on it. Next slide, please. One slide forward, please. So what we did here specifically, coming back to the paper mill that we just talked about, was that we were actually able to create a smart control room. So we started to do event prediction. What does it mean? We actually looked at the alarms happening. So currently they have more than 200 or 300 alarms per hour, much more than a human person actually can react on. And when the alarm appear, they already were too late, because then the issue actually was happening. So we looked for patterns. We started to predict the alarms. We also started to tell them what is the root cause, so which alarm will actually be responsible for setting off other alarms. By that solution here, we were able to predict an alarm happening half an hour before it actually happened, with a likelihood of how it would happen, 70%, 80% if it would happen, yes or no. What are the other alarms that would be triggered, and what was the resolution that it could apply to? For example, they have a big boiler, and if that boiler boils over when boiling wood pieces, they need to close the factory for a full day. So you can imagine both the business impact, but also the environmental impact. Normally, when they get the alarm of such a wood boiler boiling over, it's too late. They can go down, they can shut it off, and they need to find some shovel and start to clean the mess up. Now here we were able to give the prediction 20 minutes before it happened, meaning that they could go down very easily and turn the heat down and preventing the wood boiler from actually boiling over and be responsible for a full day shutdown of the production, which has a huge impact both to the daily life of the people here, coming back to the point of the end users, but also to the company and of course to the environment. So this really means that we need to ensure that the end users are using it, as I said, and they do it here because we develop it together with them. They were part of the development process, they took responsibility in using it, and today also we capture the changes that they would like. They tell us if we predict red or right or wrong, or how we should solve this or that issue, and the algorithm now captures that, so it captures the human interface, the human reaction to our predictions, and learns and get better from that. Really going to show how IoT, analytics, AI are working really hand in hand to create really tangible business value. Let's move ahead. Next slide, please. Here you can deep dive a little bit more into the did it. I think I have explained very nicely about it. The solutions here was created with one of our partners, Siemens, and actually using the methodology and the reference architecture that I've talked about called pre-integrated IoT. Let's move to the next one. Next slide, please. So this is the digital twin that I talked about for the physically process of vaccines, for example. But of course, digital twin can also be used for other solutions. You can have a digital twin for windmill. You can make one for your car production. So today, there's a lot of option in using digital twins enhanced with IoT and AI analytics, really to drive and improve the business process, both to the benefit of the company, but also to the benefit of the environment. The better the windmill operates, the more energy it will create. It's a benefit from the company, but it's also a benefit for the environment, because we will have more wind energy, meaning we will have less energy coming from normal, traditional carbon footprint heavy fuel solutions. Let's move forward. Let's move on slide forward. So as I said, we build this for the vaccine production. And this is real life now today. And we can now either tell the operator to change, shift, or add pressure, temperature to it, or we could actually automate it fully if we were allowed to. So this, as I said, really are impacting the vaccine production. And we hope, of course, that this also will help us to overcome the current situation that we're in. Let's move on slide ahead. This is the first generation of the process digital twin that I've talked about, with a guaranteed quality. As I said, we really use raw material here and the waste from it, and you can see this is really a heavy reduction. And a faster time to market, we believe you can bring up to a 50%. Just to give you some of the actual metrics around this. So we're not talking about, you know, we will save them 1 hour here and there. This is massive impact. Let's move forward. So will this only be something that we do within the industry and within companies? No. We clearly see this also happening within society and within the public space. Decarbonization of cities. Clearly here we can work with the cities with kind of smart city solutions. Just one really tiny example. So for example, we have a solution when fire trucks or police or ambulances need to get to a certain point in the city. Normally they would drive around and try to get there. We have now given them a solution which are doing real-time analysis on the actual traffic, compare it to traffic at similar situations, at similar days in the city, but at the same time we're adding information about the the length of the street or the width of the street to see if a police car or an ambulance or a truck, a fire truck actually can, get into the street and it actually can turn in the street. Or if it's typically a car parked there or the streets are too narrow. So this is on the one side improving speed for the blue light, police, fire truck, ambulances, but also reducing actually their carbon footprint. We will see models arising within democracy, hopefully increasing the citizens of digital engagement with their governments. So this is something that we really are picking up, and we will see those solutions appear more and more really in the near future. Let's move forward. While we're moving one slide ahead here, one example is, of course, the COVID-19 issue, which also now are giving us the ability for governments to track change of the disease and how the disease will tend to go from one person to another person. So it gives them a lot of management possibilities of engaging with, for example, companies. Now, if you would like to engage with ATOS, and I hope you will like them as students and listeners here, we have a lot of possibilities. If you go one slide ahead, please. One slide ahead, please. So you will find us as atos.net, and there's a lot of possibilities that you can work with us on. One is around our collaboration for startups called Scale. One is our digital or IT challenge for students that we have every year. The other one is, of course, to apply for an internship or to work with my teams globally on your master thesis. Other things that could, work for you. And if you're a partner, happily would like to set up a meeting with you, to talk with you about how we can work together and how we can drive value for our clients and for the benefits of the society moving forward. With that, I would like to thank you, and hopefully there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for this great presentation. So you only have 5 more minutes, right?
Or we can take it to 10 minutes if needed, no worries.
Because if we take 10 minutes, then I would put the people from like 3 minutes into the breakout so that they can discuss a bit about the talk and the questions. You will also be put in one if you want to discuss with them. Feel free to do so. And then I would say let's do a shorter one now. So be back in 3 minutes. I'll just do the breakouts. Okay. So, we still have at least 2 people open our rooms. Okay.
So, Mr. Thompson, I apologize for the delay with the next slide thing. That was like a rebroadcast of the YouTube stream, which has a delay of about 5 seconds. So I did moved forward, but it only got to you a few seconds later. So I apologize.
No worries. We made it through, so all good. All good.
Exactly. So, but besides that, I can tell you the YouTube stream was perfect. So it went super smooth. You will see it's really nice. Okay, so people are back in 10 seconds.
No worries. I hope you solved your sound issues.
Yeah, it was horrible. Actually, the Zoom was breaking the audio in this computer, and then yeah, it was horrible. But I'm very happy that it's working now. And sorry once again, because it was, for me, it was the worst, because I was sitting here like, oh no, we have everything, but we are not allowed to test yesterday. Okay, so the people are back. I would take the chance to ask the first question, just free out here. I actually have two questions. So this first one would be the heterogeneity. How do you make the people adapt to your platform? How do you make them, or what can be done to overcome this heterogeneity? Because your platform is connecting the different ecosystems the way I understood it, and which is great, because then you have interoperability, you can bring all these fantastic use cases. Is it difficult to convince the people? Are they more like, yeah, cool, we want to come, because this is exactly what we waited for? This would be my question.
No, it depends a little bit where you are in the organization. If you go to let's say the more upper part of an organization, they find it quite cool and they see the benefits, etc. And if you then start on the people that need to execute it and live with it on a day-to-day, and that's the important part. Because if they are not on board, you can build the finest solution and the most wonderful solution of the world, but if no one is using it, the benefits are not there. So they are, of course, and you need to put yourself in their shoes. They, of course, sometimes are afraid, and they have also sometimes been exposed to a lot of POCs and pilots, and they're, just another one, yeah, that's nice, and this will also bring nothing, etc. So this is not easy, and the way that we did it, and we're doing it right now, is very old-fashioned. It's really to go out there and physically go out there. This is hard now under the COVID times, yes. But normally we went out, to take this paper production plant again. We went out 300 kilometers into the woods of Sweden and sat down with them 2 times a day, every 2 weeks. And we really sat down with the operators, first to learn about their day-to-day life, then to talk with them, then to understand what the issues are. Then, a lot of talk meetings to understand and really listen to them. And then we started to develop, but with them. We really engaged them, gave them different tasks, gave them feedback possibilities, zero, so that they felt engaged on the whole process. And thereby they took ownership and also found it quite cool at the end, because then they had something that they had on their cell phone, and they could maybe go on earlier and still be at work. Suddenly getting, it's not a lot of home office if you're looking at a 400-meter long, 3 stories high paper production line. But with putting a lot of stuff to your cell phone or tablets or whatever, they suddenly have some more flexibility and other things they could do. So it's really about engaging them, working with them. I cannot, underline the word with enough.
This is also probably something fascinating when you do such collaborative work, that you then see the clients and you really see that they're happy. And it's not you have a product off the shelf and then they do something with it, but you don't have contact. But it's more this different doing something together to drive it even much higher.
Exactly.
Yeah, so do we have a question from the chat at the moment? Okay, because then it's very good, because then I can ask my second question. What would you say is the biggest challenge a student should focus on right now when you think about this change of the systems, integration of everything? What would you say? Is it, when you're studying right now, you should go for right now? Is it still AI? Is it the next big thing already?
AI, IoT are there, and of course we need to drive that further. We need to understand it better. We need to be better in using it, and we need to put it to the edge. We believe that a lot of AI models need to run exactly on the edge, like the vessel solution. So that's one part of it. Then we need to make sure that it's extreme secure. Just imagine if a terrorist hacker would get access to a vessel, or an oil tanker, or a container vessel with 20,000 containers on it. What kind of damages could it actually be done? So it needs to be very, very secure. And then, because technology is not the biggest issue nowadays, it's actually people. It's our imagination and our belief in what is actually doable. That needs to be changed. And as I said in the beginning, we need to be able to scale. So we have seen, and I'm talking about business now and also cities, we have seen that a lot of pilots and POCs has been done, but things have stopped there because we're not standardizing, we're not scaling. So the benefits will not come without a scale effect. So that is really one of the big challenges as well. And then, of course, it needs to be more than about business. Of course, it needs to be a business outcome. We need to focus on that. We do not need to focus on technology. Stop that. Focus on the business outcome, but also focus on the impact that we can bring to the environment. It's crucial, and we need to take it serious, and we need to use those technologies to create both sides of the equation.
And when you think about the change process that you said that there's more collaboration, does this also change the value chain? Are you closer to the customer? Can you say
Yeah,
something?
we are working in extremely close collaboration nowadays. And let me again give you the example of the paper mill, but also on the vessels. And we were out on the vessels. We were sailing with them. And for the paper mill, we worked here with partners, for example, with Siemens. We worked really the client, IT organization and change organization. They are actually production sites, us and Siemens. So basically 4 teams spread across the world. We needed to have high engagement. We needed to be on site at some point. And we make it happen that the teams work so close together that I went into the final steer code. I was not able to find out which person came from which company. They really went to be one big team. That's where we need to go. We need to take down the barriers. We need to believe in the open ecosystem. There's value enough for all of us there. And that's how we bring it.
Very good. So we have 2 more questions. So I hand over to Nicola, who still has his microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So this is one question from the chat that I can read here. So you were mentioning the process of co-creation and co-development of customers to find their specific needs. And I believe an essential aspect of such collaborative work is the trust between you and your client. How do you establish such trust with your customers and so they are open to you?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would have loved to say that we do it over a very nice digital solution and we show a lot of benefits and so forth. That's a part of the answer, of course. But the more important answer is interaction. Really talk with people. Sit down, talk with them. Go out, have a beer or a cup of coffee or whatever, makes it happen. You need to talk and embrace the situation that the client is in. And you need to get that trust. And the only way you can get trust between people is to communicate and talk with each other. And it's sadly to say, is that old-fashioned. There's no silver bullet, it's hard work. The other part is, once you have gained that trust, you need to show them that you're taking that serious, what they tell you. So it's not about, we sit down, listen, we have a cup of coffee, and it's very nice, and then go back and do something totally different. No, you need actually to take that with you and come back and show that you have understood what the person was saying, and that you actually are listening, and you're creating a solution that will help that specific person in his role. So this is how we create trust. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's really about people meeting people. And as one person told me when I started my career, he told me business, a project, is not done between two companies. It's done between two persons, two people. And that has been my mantra, and is what I'm bringing to my teams. And that is what I believe by the end of the day will create the trust, together with the commitment to show that we actually are capable and able of then turning it into real solutions.
Thank you very much. I have another question. So what are the skills students need to develop to be able to work in such projects?
Sorry, could you repeat? I couldn't hear the question.
Yes. A student is asking what are the skills students need to develop to be able to work in such projects.
Oh, well, that's also another good question. First of all, you need to be open by nature. You need to be, keen on talking with people. But I don't know if that's a skill or a personality. But you definitely need to be open to that. Of course, you need to understand how your domain works. If you're an AI person or an IoT person or whatever. So you need to have your specialty under control, but you also need to understand, let's say, the surroundings that are around. So how does my specialty interact with the other areas? And that knowledge is also needed moving forward. So you cannot go into the silos and just say, I'm only doing this. The world of old IT silos, that will disappear. So you need to have your specialty, you need to be open to talk with people, and you need to understand how your specialty interact with the surrounding world around you. So what is the solutions or the specialties and capabilities that have borderlines to you, where you have a border that you can work with. And you need to understand, not to be a specialist in that area as well, but you need to have an understanding how that works so you can create that dialogue. And then you need to be understanding that this is not about technology anymore. It's great about technology. I like technology myself. Don't get me wrong, but when you're out there talking with people about those projects, you need to understand that we're there to solve the issue for them. And they don't care if we use AWS or if we use Siemens or if we use this or that coding language. They care about the issue getting solved. So that is, I would say, one important skill to bring with you.
Good, thank you. And I have one last question from the chat about digital twin. So digital twin needs to be connected to the physical process. And the question is how difficult it is to create this connection between the physical world and the digital one. And
it's doable, and I will not say it's something that is rocket science nowadays, but the feedback loop, as we call it, is really the important part, but it's also the most complex part. So it's something that is doable. It's not off the shelf yet. It's also not something where we do not believe it's doable. We know how to do it and we can replicate it, but still one of the more complex parts of the whole setup and the whole solution. We need to create that feedback loop between the real world and the digital world.
Okay, very good. And maybe we use the opportunity of having multiple people here to give a big applause to you.
Very good. And thank you for inviting me.
Representative for the more than 50 people in the street. So thank you very much. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Have a very nice day and enjoy. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. And so those people that stay with us, as announced, so we'll have now a 20 minutes break. So we'll continue at 3:30. Yeah, exactly. So you can stay connected, of course, and we'll continue with the program.